Stage Mother tells the story of Maybelline, a Southern Baptist choir mistress who tragically inherits her estranged son's San Francisco drag bar.
There you go. Police, keys, contracts.
Oh my Lord, I've inherited a gay bar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dusty Muffin, and I gotta warn you, this muffin has nuts.
I'd suggest you mingle, but I don't think you have much in common with this crowd.
Not really much of a crowd.
Is Mommy Dearest gonna be our new boss?
Do I call them boys or girls?
No, it's kind of a time of day issue.
Our most popular performers just quit. Business is flatlining.
I have a plan.
What do you know about running a drag bar?
I'm a Southern Baptist choir mistress. Different songs, same divas. Some of the same wigs, too. I want y'all to sing.
Like sing? Really sing?
All right, bitches, get dressed.
What the hell is going on here, Maybelline?
I'm not looking at our son through your frightened eyes.
When she meets his chosen family of friends and this troupe of drag queens, she realizes that she could get to know her son posthumously through his friends in a way she never did when he was alive. And she decides to give this drag club a chance to continue on with her acting as Stage Mother.
Welcome to the Queer Network. My name is Justin Gerhard. Today we're having a conversation with the director and 2 stars of the just released movie Stage Mother. Welcome to the Queer Network, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Justin.
Hi.
Hi, Justin.
Let's go around and just introduce ourselves and how you're connected to Stage Mother.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oscar Moreno. I play Tequila Mockingbird slash Eric in Stage Mother.
Hey everyone, my name's Allister MacDonald and I play Joan of Arkansas, just Joan. And she is a drag queen with some addiction issues.
And I'm Thom, the director of Stage Mother.
I think we'll start a little bit with you, Thom. You had quite a decorated career already in the industry between plays and films and television and lots of awards. I'm curious to know what drew you to this project and why you wanted to direct Stage Mother.
Well, I always wanted to work with Oscar and Allister, so I thought this would be my big chance.
It was.
Brad Hennig's script was both hilarious and really touching to me. And I had actually lost my brother in a way that was very similar to the way that our heroine loses her son Ricky through an overdose. So I also felt like I had a viewpoint of the story that not every director could bring to it, because a great script isn't always enough. I think sometimes a director needs to understand their way into the story. So I've always loved drag, and I've always loved a backstage musical. So it sort of presented every good thing I could ever hope for in a dessert.
And it was delicious, I have to say. Where did the story come from? I mean, the script was put together and then you came on board right away, or did you help sort of craft it as it sort of evolved? Or
the script had a long development before my involvement. Brad Hennig is from Texas and lives in San Francisco. He likes to say that Facebook sort of inspired him because of half of his newsfeed coming from his old church in small town Texas and half of his newsfeed coming from drag queens in San Francisco, and how, you know, the posts looked so much the same, from the hairdos to the maternal sentiments of the church ladies and drag queens. So social media brought the inspiration to Brad. And, you know, I read it, loved it, decided to do it, met Jackie Weaver shortly afterwards in New York. And once Jackie Weaver was going to star in the film, people pretty much lined up for their opportunity to work with one of the world's favorites. So
Absolutely.
these two answered our national Canadian call for drag queens.
Amazing.
Possibly a little bit of infiltration of our casting system.
Always a little bit of drama, you know? I'm curious to know all the music. I mean, it's a film. It's not a musical, but certainly has such a high, intense musical aspect. Where did all this music come from? Like when you got brought on board, was it already all decided, or how did that go?
I think of Stage Mother as a backstage musical. It's not the type of musical where people burst out into song at any moment. It's a story based around a musical event, which is a drag show. So it was always something of a musical, and the script stipulated some songs to give us the idea. A couple of those worked their way through the whole process. And, you know, when you're an independent film, it's not a given that you can get any song that you want. There's a jukebox element to this. These are popular songs that people know. So, you know, Total Eclipse of the Heart, I remember, was always in the script, and it always sort of summed up that moment in the story so perfectly that no one ever questioned it. And Brad, the writer, suggested a lot of the songs that fit the narrative, from Joan Jett, Do You Want to Touch, Taylor Danes, Love Will Lead You Back, and it sort of built from there. And then yes, there are original numbers in the film written by Jason McIsaac of a Canadian band called the Heavy Blinkers, and they are quite beautiful.
Well, I want to switch some attention to the queens of the show. What drew you to this film? It sounds like Thom was already talking about there was a casting process that you guys were both part of.
At the time, I was doing a show at the Fringe Festival called the Ding Dong Girls, which kind of dealt with sort of an amateur group of gays that got together to do drag for the first time. And so, like, had I been in heels, drag queen requirement was satisfactory. It was satisfactory for me. I was like, I've done drag. And so it was from that, like, one of the writers for that book, Chris Richards, who also happens to work in casting, it was him that got like sort of tapped on the shoulder by Sheila Lane, who was like, hey, we're looking for gays who want to do this drag part. Got anybody? He's like, I got 5. And so while I at the time, the breakdowns that came out were like Diva, Joan, and Tequila, but just like reading the description, sort of, she's like a flirty gal who has, you know, her quips and troubles with romance. I was like, this sounds like me. I did a self-tape. I never really met any of the creative team until I got to set, like, later that October. For a few months, I didn't know what had become of it, because I was super proud with the self-tape that I had submitted. But according to the original breakdown, it was supposed to have started shooting like earlier on. And I was actually had just moved out of my place here in Toronto to go do a contract with Drayton Entertainment, like the production of Ghost the Musical. And it was like 2 weeks before rehearsals were about to start. And they're like, hey, Oscar, we're still interested in you. Like, what's your availability like? And you're like, you gotta tell me now, because I'm starting this contract, and like, there's like penalties to get out of a contract that close to it. And so, you know, that kind of helped speed up the process. And then next thing I knew, I was like waiting just to fly to Halifax and have the time of my life on this, like, because this is my feature film debut, so I'm super stoked that this is how it's all kind of come together.
Allister, what was your journey to the set?
I remember in 2016, I was in Halifax, I don't remember why, and I was visiting my friend Stephanie MacDonald at the Fringe sign-up thing, and Thom stopped by, and he was like, oh, I'm on my way to New York tomorrow to meet with a 2-time Oscar nominee, Jackie Weaver, to see if she'll star in my film Stage Mother, which is about a mother of a drag queen who dies, and there's drag queens. And I was just like, I want to be in that movie.
Yeah.
Desperately. But we continued cultivating a working relationship, and he let me know that they were starting to think about some casting, and I believe he sent me a script, and I saw the name Joan, and my grandmother's name is Joan, so I was like, ooh, it caught my attention immediately. And then I read the sides for her and Jackie's scene, mine and Jackie Weaver's scene together. I won't spoil anything, but it was beautifully written and so vulnerable, and I was just like, I love this person. And I got to audition with that scene. I didn't hear anything for a little bit, but I was in Halifax starring as Shakespeare in Shakespeare in Love at Neptune Theatre. And Thom emailed me one night and was like, we will work around your meddling stage schedule. And I, in some bizarro alternate universe, I didn't think this would ever happen. I got to shoot the film by day and be Shakespeare by night. So I was in girl drag for sometimes 12 hours a day, and boy drag by night. Thom says that he likes to say that I forged a beard out of mascara, which is very true.
Yeah.
But that was kind of my journey into joining the project.
Between the queens, what was your favorite scene to shoot in the film?
Definitely the most memorable was like the first scene that we shot when I got to Halifax, which was like, you know, that it's all right, it's my mother. Simply because I was just such an ecstatic, like it was a very sort of quick thing that I did on the first day, but like they glammed me up like the first time I saw myself with all the makeup and like the wigs and things. I was like, I am here for it.
What about you, Allister?
Oh, there's so many. I think my most memorable was my first day on set, and same scene, the intervention scene, I will call it, with Jackie. It was just Jackie and I for like 12 hours, and I was so nervous. I was like, what have I got myself into? I had no eyebrows. I looked a mess, which was perfect for the scene, but I was just like, oh my God, I have to shoot this scene with a 2-time Oscar nominee. And then they were setting up the shot, and it's where I let her into the apartment. And I was just like, okay, just think of some small talk just to like say hi to this woman. And I was like, oh, I love your nail color. And she was like, oh, thanks, it's cold. I'm not just a waitress. And I died. And then she was like, you know, I usually wear black because I want people to know that Granny likes to have fun. That was unedited. She said something quite profane. And I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. I was like, whoa, not what I expected. But there was some pretty heavy stuff to shoot. And just between takes, she would come and put her hands on my shoulder or like cradle my face in her hands, and just it was so reassuring and supportive. And it was the beginning of a really lovely on-set relationship with everybody. So that day was really special.
Thom, what was your favorite scene to shoot?
I guess my memory of the most happy feeling was when we started doing the musical numbers, which came late into the shooting, because in the narrative of the film, the sort of club transforms over time, and we were in the studio by that point. But we shot their first sort of live singing number called It Ain't Mr. Right, and I finally got a real sense of what everything was building towards, you know, these beautiful costumes that Jim Worthen had come up with, and the beautiful lights and the glittery backdrops, which were really just like $1 glitter curtains from the Dollarama Glamorama, they would say. and Maya and Oscar and Ali just really belted it out and put on this amazing show. And then it climbed even higher with the original number, Beautiful to Me, which was both just absolutely gorgeous and heartbreaking song written for the film. And they all did, but especially Allister on that number, a stunning rendition.
Let's talk a little bit about the drag performance too, because you guys are both actors in the industry, been doing this for a while. Did you ever imagine yourself playing a role like this, or has this inspired you to even want to do drag? Like, this is an interesting, dynamic, because drag has become so mainstream, and a queen can create an entire career out of being a drag queen. Now, it sounds like, you guys are not drag queens, or are you drag queens now? How does that resonate with you guys?
When I was 18, I moved to Halifax. I'm a small town queer kid from Cape Breton, and I escaped to the big city and met a drag queen who went by the name and goes by the name of Elle Noir. And she was sneaking me into bars and putting me in face, and I was making some money back then as a drag queen. Not very well done. It's a lot easier when you have an entire film team to put you in drag. But I kind of stopped doing drag as I got into theater school and wanted to take acting more seriously. And all these years later, I got the part, and I found out that Elle Noir, Chris Cochran, she was the head of makeup on the film, which is like so full circle. And she's been one of my best friends. I love her dearly. She's legitimately my drag mom. I still call her mama. So I have like a deep-rooted personal history with the art form, and I have loved it forever. I don't know if I would do it because it's really hard work and it's really expensive. So I have like a deep appreciation and love for people who do it and do it well, obviously, because I go out on a Monday or Tuesday, much like in Stage Mother, where there are 2 people in the audience. And these queens are so committed to putting on a show. And that is like the purest love. That shows the purest love of performing. I remember that feeling when I was 18, 19 years old. But I don't know if I would do it now. Maybe, who knows?
You don't have to choose. Like, you
Yeah.
get to play these roles, and they exist now. Movies like this are going to keep being made, and we're going to keep telling stories about drag queens because they're powerful stories.
Totally.
Oscar, what's your journey to this as a queen?
I'm also definitely super, like, I love drag queens and anything like drag related. I don't obviously have that much experience of it because I acknowledge how many resources and just like time and commitment it needs. Not that I'm against any of those categories, but yeah, it's just a whole different kind of beast. Like, I feel like to do it well, you really have to devote yourself to that. And that's not necessarily where I want to go. Although I did always joke that I would probably become a drag queen by the time I'm 30 if nothing happened. But here we are, things are happening, so I might not have to after all.
What's been the reaction so far of the film, you guys? As it's been played in festivals, and what's the response been like?
We only got to ever see it with an audience once in Palm Springs before the pandemic. And that was a really lovely, glorious, everything you'd hoped for kind of screening with all of the infectious laughter of a big crowd and tears and standing ovation for the cast and so on. And then, we've never been able to see it with an audience again. It's going to be at the drive-in down in Miami. So pretty exciting that there's at least a way that people can congregate. And as a filmmaker, you never really think your movie could end up in a drive-in. So that feels nice and nostalgic.
What do you guys want people to take away from this film? What do you think is the main message, or that you personally want?
To me, one of the main sort of themes that resonated with me, even like when I first read the script, is this idea of like the chosen family, which I think is true for so many queer folks. And in this case that we're seeing sort of Jackie's character meet who her son's chosen family was and get to equally fall in love with them as well. I think there's something really profound to that because, you know, or at least in a lot of cultures, I guess I'll say, like, but, you know, the idea of like, you have to stick with family through thick and thin or whatever, well, that's not necessarily always the best choice for everybody. So the chosen family, I think, yeah, it's a saving grace for a lot of us out there.
Something I love about the film so much is not only does Jackie's character Maybelline fall in love with the queer community, coming from a background that generally has a lot of fear about that community, they also fall in love with her. I see this movie as like two sides of the coin coming together. I myself hold a lot of fear and hesitation toward small town straight men specifically. And being back in Nova Scotia for some family events, I still am catching myself with my own family being hesitant and being withdrawn and being scared to go say hi. And like my own cousins being like, what the hell is up? Like right. We know you're queer. We love you, you know? So that is a lesson even in the last couple days that I think I'm learning from this film. It's like fear is sometimes double-sided, and if we just look past our assumptions and just connect on a very human level, nothing but love can come out of it, I hope. And I think that's kind of what I want people to take away from it. And you're gonna laugh and cry and sing. It's just kind of has everything. So I just want people to go to the theater and have fun.
And this is the time we need this. We've never been in a more polarized politically, culturally world. And so to see somebody like what Jackie represents crossing over and bringing some people with her, and vice goes back and forth. Yeah, sort of a metaphor for what's actually needed to happen and is starting to happen. Thom, I'm curious your little rundown of what this movie is all about for you.
Well, it is indeed a sweet, soothing confection in a sour world. So there is that. But for me, the story speaks about it being never too late to learn to love better, to open up, to embrace a love you were reluctant to, and to become more the person that you always wanted to be through opening your arms to love.
Please check out Stage Mother. It is a fantastic film. If you've never been to the Queer Network before, please subscribe. And as always, keep it queer.